Hey, this is Dave DeVries, and it's great to be back with you at the Missionary Church Western District Conference here in Indian Wells. I am so excited to be here, and yes, it was 108 degrees today, but that's not what excites me the most. I love connecting and being together with our pastors and church planters, and I love being able to encourage them. I love hearing the stories of what's happening in their lives, and I certainly love the opportunity we have to pray for one another and support each other in the mission of Jesus. The other thing I want to tell you about is my kids. I love my kids. I cannot stop talking about my kids. In fact, right now, as you're watching this video, I am on my way to New York City to celebrate my son's graduation. He has finished up 4 years at the Juilliard School, and he'll be graduating on Friday, so I can't be with you here personally for the whole conference because I'm spending time with Doug. I am also thrilled to tell you about my daughter Madeline. Madeline is finishing the ballet program at the Pacific Northwest Ballet in Seattle, where she's been in training for the last 3 years, and in August she's moving to Germany. That's right, she has an apprenticeship with the Dresden Ballet, and so she's going to go dance in Germany for the next 2 years. And I got to tell you, I can't stop talking about my kids. I can't stop praying for my kids. And you know, when I think about our church plants and what God is doing in starting new churches in the Western District, there's two things that I want to ask you to do. I want you to talk about our church plants, and I want you to pray for our church plants. Church planting is hard work. It's one of the most difficult things in the world. And our church planters are experiencing incredible spiritual battles as they plant churches. I want to encourage you to keep informed about what God's doing in our church plants. We have a monthly prayer update that goes out, and if you're not receiving that, I want to encourage you to sign up for that prayer update. And every month you'll get an email from me that talks about what's happening in our church plants and how you can pray. I don't want you just to get the email. I want you to talk about our church plants to your church family. I want you to share their stories. I want the people in your church to know their names. Just like I want you to know my kids' names. I want you to talk about what God's doing in our church plants. And I want you to set aside time in your small groups and in your Sunday morning worship celebration to pray for our church planters. Two things I want you to do. Talk about what God's doing and pray for our church planters. I want you to pray for Eric Lawyer, who's planting a church in Toms River, New Jersey. And Eric has been experiencing excruciating migraine headaches. He's continually in and out of the hospital as he's battling with this physical condition. But at the same time, God is moving and the church is growing in Toms River. I want your church family to know about that. I want you to share the stories, and I want you to pray for Eric and Marcy and their family and their baby who's just about to be born, their third child. I want you to pray for Chris Fukunaga and the church plant we have in Long Beach, the Village community. Chris has gone through an incredible last few months. His sister passed away, and in addition to that, his dad has been battling for his life. I want you to be praying for Chris, for his family, and I want to encourage you to share with your church family what God is doing. His lives are being changed. I want to encourage you to pray for Faith and Louis DeLuca, who are planting a church in Oxnard, California. It's tough soil as they're attempting to make disciples who make disciples. I want you to be praying for Chuck Gerwig. I want your church family to know about Chuck and Elevation, and be praying for them and the spiritual battles that they face in Santa Cruz. I want you to be praying for Pastor Chung, and for his wife Hannah, and for their family as they're planning a church in Los Angeles. They pray for you. I want you to be praying for them. I want your church family to know about them. I want you to be praying for Willie O'Burke and his family, who planted a church in Greeley 6 years ago, and the challenges that they're continuing to face as they get established. I want to encourage you to be praying for Edwin Racinos and pray for not just for the church that he pastors, but for the English-speaking congregation that they have planted in their new church building. I want you to be praying for new opportunities for church plants to be started. I want to encourage you to tell your church family about Pastor Roy and Jill Shin, and for their church that has been started in Riverside, The Promise. I want your church family to know about them and about their children who are hearing impaired, and that they would be praying for them. I want to encourage you, just like I love talking about my kids, and if you have children, I'm sure you love talking about your kids. I want you to talk about our church plants. I want them to be known. I want them to be familiar among your church family. And I want you to spend time personally and in your small groups and in your worship services praying for our church plants. I want you to pray for Aaron Santini and his wife Rita, who are planning the crossing in Fort Collins. I want to encourage you to be praying for our Hispanic church planters. I want you to know Diego and Claudia Montilla. And I want you to be praying for them, and for Ricardo Rivera, and for the church plant that they've started in Yuba City, and for the second church that they're getting ready to start. I want you to love them the way I do, and I want you to pray for them and encourage them. And I want you, as you share the stories of what God's been doing to plant multiple churches in our district in the last 5 years, really what I want you to be actually seeing happen is your church family loving the idea of being involved in seeing new churches started. Would you join me in praying for the work that God is doing in multiplying churches across the Western District?